nobody knows what will happen. Let's to find out from Erol whether he agrees. Erol, very good morning to you.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Nice to see you. I don't think I'm overstating it to say this is a really, really important moment for the world, not just for America, in terms of what happens on Tuesday.
No, you're not overstating it whatsoever. I mean, the discrepancies between the two candidates couldn't be more stark. With one side, you have a continuation of the current, let's go with pro-war agenda, this very interesting international policy that doesn't seem to solve anything. On the other hand, you have Trump, who's going to bring demonstrable change to U.S. foreign policy and domestic policy, which means everybody will be affected by this. I mean, this is really the most consequential election, obviously, of this century thus far. And as a historian, you know, you go back to the first couple decades of each century, people start to work things out. When you enter into that third decade is really when you start to see the machines of modernization, whatever that century is bringing, build. And you have AI, you have these automations, robots, space travel, all sorts of amazing things around the corner. And having somebody like Elon Musk with Donald Trump and, you know, this kind of mentality, that's an accelerated growth mentality versus a decelerated sort of anti-growth mentality. So that's really where we are.
Yeah, and you also have a very divided America as well. I mean, I used to live there, as I bore people to death with, but I was there from like 83 to 92. Ronald Reagan was president when I got there. Bill Clinton was about to be president when I left. And, you know, it seems like a world away from that. You know, I'm told, you know, I haven't spent much time in American cities lately, but many of the cities are kind of riven with homelessness. They've got people on fentanyl staggering around. You've got a massive illegal migration problem in every single state of the union, it seems. And you know, things are not good.
Yeah, and those metrics have infected every city across the board. Great American cities like San Francisco have effectively collapsed. Places like New York, I mean, you get the good days and the bad days, but last year you had 30 or 40 people pushed on the subway tracks, just waiting. Wow. I mean, it starts to become there's zero trust public spaces in America. So you pay your taxes, you work hard, and you can't even go to the park without your kids stepping on a used heroin needle. And I think this is the level of, it's been a decade of this, by the way. It's not like a couple of years. It's been a decade plus of this. And the American people are sick and tired and fed up. And the only person with any solution or any plan is Donald Trump. And that's all we've got right now.
Right. Well, let's have a look at a couple of clips, because he's been doing an awful lot of interviews, Donald Trump, many, many more than Kamala Harris, and he did one last night with Tucker Carlson. Let's have a look.
I've been thinking this for the past 8 years, and I've thought it more frequently this year. What motivates you to keep going?
Who the hell knows? I don't know. I just want to be with people like this. There's so much love in this room. So much love, right? Isn't it amazing? No, it's pretty easy. I could have a lot of alternatives. I could be in a beautiful beach with the waves hitting me in the face and all that boring stuff. And I've been there, and you get very bored pretty easily. I have one thing in mind. It's called Make America Great Again. That's all I think about.
He's taken a different tack lately, hasn't he, which has worked really well for him. You know, while Kamala Harris has been kind of accusing him of being Hitler and talking about him being Nazis, and Joe Biden calling his supporters garbage, you know, he's just kind of become entertaining, and he's become the guy that you wouldn't mind actually hanging out with.
Yeah, he's become much more smooth and cool, endearing kind of, as the kids say, demure. He's able to go, you know, the McDonald's thing was objectively hilarious and heartwarming and fun. And the reaction to everybody being called garbage, he said, "Forgive Joe Biden. He know not of what he speaks."
And then he walked in and came off a plane and got into a garbage truck. I mean, it was genius.
Yeah. And he gave the whole speech wearing the high visibility vest. I mean, and the great thing is he never actually takes off his core suit when he does any of these things. He always, you know, he never pretends to be somebody he's not. And people respect that. They like that he comes down. He's obviously not garbage and doesn't actually work at McDonald's, but he gives people the dignity of showing respect to their work. And that's something that the left doesn't respect at all.
And the left just keeps getting it wrong. Because let's have a look at Karine Jean-Pierre, who's the White House press secretary, attempting to sort of row back on what Joe Biden said. This is really funny.
Just address the president's comments yesterday, referring to Trump supporter as garbage. And
A couple of things. So just to clarify, he was not calling Trump supporters garbage.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
Which is why this is why he wanted to make sure that we put out a statement that clarified what he meant and what he was trying to say.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
And so just want to make that very clear for folks who are watching.
I mean, I'm sorry, we're not buying that, are we?
No, I think George Orwell wrote a book about this, and it's playing out in real time. I mean, we all saw it with our own lying eyes,
right.
And they had some publications, I forget which ones, but one of the dishonest ones, they published the fake transcripts as though that was going to work, as though we didn't have the video, as though more people are going to read their nonsense headlines than the video. It's impossible, but this election is down to sound bites, and they're manufacturing them because.
But that is a new thing as well, isn't it? That American networks, including places like ABC and CNN and NBC, MSNBC, are actually doctoring clips and giving out clips which don't reflect actually what the real words were of the candidates. I find that amazing. That that's not journalism. Sorry.
And it's a huge problem because CBS, with the infamous 60 Minutes editing, keep in mind for your viewers in America, we have public airwaves, spectrums, and you are allowed to use that spectrum courtesy of we, the taxpayer, as long as you provide both sides of the coverage. But if you're openly editing interviews and taking out places where candidates look bad and stuff like that, I mean, what right do you have to use the public airwaves when we're not supposed to be partisan on those things? So it's disheartening on two ways, because that's an institution in this country for 100 years that's about to go away if they can't keep it up.
Yeah, it is extraordinary. Let's go back to Donald Trump, one final clip here where he talks about our favourite subject here at Talk, common sense.
I mean, I hate to say it, but you like to know where the other side's coming from. And I'll say, why do they want to have men, and they're so emphatic about it, men playing in women's sports? You see what's happening in volleyball, what's happening in swimming, what's happening in weightlifting. How about weightlifting, where records that stood for 18 years, are being broken like by hundreds of pounds? The whole thing is crazy. Then you say, why do they want to have transition, I call them transition operations by the thousands? If you just say, well, I'm thinking about it, they throw you into an operating table, and you say, why do they want to have that? Who wants that? Who wants to have open borders, they're all the same thing. They don't make any sense. We're the party of common sense, right? Because I think we're really the party of common sense.
He's right. I mean, I'm sitting here chuckling because it's the way it's the way he tells them, as we used to say. But the fact is that he's right, isn't he? The kind of the deranged left have now kind of become so deranged that everything is the same. Whether it's trans rights, whether it's migrant rights, whether it's open borders, whether it's gender dysfunction, whether it's let's make sure that we've got diversity and inclusion in every single company that we have in the country. It is all the same thing.
It is, and all of it is coming from the Marxist-led universities who effectively have been running. I mean, I did my undergrad at UC Berkeley. We were taught to deconstruct everything, decolonize everything, destroy the existing structures. Everything should be collapsed and reborn in a new vision of Karl Marx. Yeah. And that is what the students are learning, and that is what the effect is. These are the educated people in our country, and they've bought into this woke mind virus, as Elon Musk says, and they're sick to their core with it.
I'm not surprised. Absolutely brilliant to talk to you, Erol. Hopefully we'll see you on Tuesday night because we're going to be